So, calling Boris Johnson a liar is nothing new. It's not the most groundbreakingest truth you've probably heard today, let alone this year. However, we have to very often look back, and I think this will be a period that maybe in about 10 years' time we look back on, just as America will look back on Trump, and look at the damage that his words did. Just like any powerful person, the lies that powerful people tell can have a huge impact on society for years, if not sometimes decades to come. Now, hopefully, this won't be a decade-spanning lie, especially from Johnson. Hopefully the damage won't be that far. Like I say, a lot of Johnson's lies were very much couched in the populism that was wrapped up with the Brexit referendum. And as we are seeing already, these lies cannot even be sustained as soon as they cross the starting line. So there's very, very little chance of them having any proper, true staying power, because as we've always said before, when Brexit meets reality, reality always wins. And that's exactly what we're seeing at the moment. But nevertheless, it is always good to have a look at lies and the liars who tell them and why they tell such big whoppers. So, before we jump into today's article, please do remember to hit that like and share button. And also down below, there is a link to my Patreon page and a War of Donation link called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can, well, buy me a coffee. And thank you to all those people that do support me that way. So, on with today's article. So, this one today comes from the New European. The title is Boris Johnson, Liar of the Land. So, a new book by Peter Oborne chronicles Boris Johnson's history of deceit and how his time in Downing Street has poisoned British political culture. In an interview with American television network CBS earlier this month, Boris Johnson sought to reassure President Joe Biden that he would do nothing to harm the Good Friday Agreement. Of course, we've all seen the rumblings from the ERG just the past couple of days. And of course, as I've said before, if Johnson thinks that it's politically viable or politically advantageous, shall I say, for him to get rid of it, then he will. Johnson tried to fudge the question of whether he would guarantee to keep the border open. But when cornered by CBS's Margaret Berham, he said, "We want to make sure that there's free movement north and south, free movement east-west, and we guarantee the rights of those people of Northern Ireland, of course." The Prime Minister had better hope that a copy of the political commentator Peter Oborne's new book, The Assault on Truth, does not find its way into the Oval Office. For it shows that Boris Johnson's word has absolutely no meaning. He lies and lies and lies, sometimes because it's in his interest to deceive, sometimes just out of habit. You can tell when he's lying. You can basically see his lips move. And we're not talking about the evasions and half-truths that we've always been part of political life. Osborne's short, readable, accessible and damning book is a record of a life spent in the shadowy world of the natural liar's habitat, where truth is a completely tradable commodity. Johnson's Conservative Party doctored a video of Keir Starmer, the then shadow Brexit secretary, to make it look as though Starmer did not know what to say when asked about Labour's Brexit position. In fact, Starmer answered the question immediately and fluently. During the 2019 election, Johnson said the government was building 40 new hospitals, that it recruited 20,000 extra police officers, that Labour's spending plan had been costed at 1.2 trillion, and that Jeremy Corbyn opposed home ownership and wanted to abolish Britain's armed forces. Each statement was a complete lie. Johnson visited a hospital and told the doctors that he had given up drink. The day after, he was photographed drinking whiskey in a distillery. The day before, he was photographed drinking beer in a brewery. This gained him nothing. Natural liars can't often break the habit. And Brexit, of course, was built upon lies. And for Johnson's, these were the most egregious. Everyone knows about the NHS's extra $350 million a week. Even Nigel Farage completely balked at it. It's become such a cliche that one forgets how cruel a deception it really was. But Johnson also said several times that there would be no customs checks or controls for goods moving between Great Britain and Northern Ireland, when he knew that there would. He continued telling this lie even after he revisited the deal with the EU in October of 2019 and made it clear that such checks and controls would be in force. After agreeing to it, Johnson told Parliament, "There will be no checks between Great Britain and Northern Ireland." Osborne writes, "This barefaced lie is in its all moral squalor, remains on the Commons order paper." At a pre-election press conference in Kent, Johnson even repeated this lie, and he told Andrew Marr, "No tariffs, no checks." As the Daily Telegraph's Brussels correspondent, Johnson reported that the EU planned to blow up the Burlington building and replace it with a kilometre-high skyscraper topped by a communications mast. He wrote that the EU wanted to standardise coffee sizes, to ban British pink sausages and prawn cocktail crisps, to standardise condom sizes because Italians had smaller penises, and much else that was just simply not true. A Treasury dossier warning of painful short-term consequences from a no-deal Brexit was leaked to the Sunday Times, when Johnson was saying that a no-deal Brexit would be fine, and Johnson's government falsely claimed that it was an older, outdated document which had been deliberately leaked to sabotage the government's positions and talks with the EU. And a Number 10 source also said that the leaker was the former Chancellor, Philip Hammond. Downing Street falsely claimed to be investigating prominent Remainers Dominic Grieve, Hilary Benn and Oliver Letwin for their, quote, involvement with foreign powers and the funding of their activities. In the pandemic, the Prime Minister falsely claimed to have brought lockdown in to care homes before the general lockdown. This pandemic has also provided several stunning examples of his government handing out contracts to friends and political donors. But these are the taster of the lies catalogued in Oborne's sober, remorseless book. We knew about many of them before, but putting them all together just shows us the kind of man our Prime Minister is. Oborne is an old-fashioned conservative who, if he had been writing in 1961, would have been horrified, as Harold Macmillan and Lord Hailsham were, that the Cabinet Minister John Polfo should lie to the House of Commons. A Brexiteer, albeit one who publicly changed his mind in 2019, a product of Charbonne and Cambridge, who started his career in corporate finance before moving to journalism and practicing Anglican, whose wife is an Anglican priest, works on The Spectator magazine when Boris Johnson was its editor. He is an authentic product of the British governing class, the old-fashioned enough to believe that the governing class has duties as well as rights. The new establishment and Johnson's the comings that he has brought in, he thinks to seem that this only has their rights in charge. He has sacrificed a lot for stepping out of line. He's excellent living, and his platform in right-wing newspapers have actually been taken away from him. He frankly admits that he could afford it where others cannot, and he is in his 60s, financially secure and coming to the end of his career. But this is a sacrifice nevertheless. I first met him after Blair resigned as Prime Minister, when investigative journalist David Hickney and I were working on a book about Blair's burgeoning post-Downing Street commercial empire. Oborne had done a documentary on the same subject and generously gave his unused information and leads he had not been able to follow up successfully. In those days, all three of us were shocked by Blair, and I doubt any of us would feel quite the same today. As a liar, Johnson cannot be compared to Tony Blair's standards of truth-telling when they collapsed at the precise moment Boris Johnson and his associates entered Downing Street in the early afternoon of the 24th of July 2019. So why do Britons allow themselves to be governed by a man that they know they cannot be trusted? There are philosophical and historical forces at work, and Oborne examines these. But in a lot is just down to straight chance. Johnson has been very lucky in his opponents. In particular, writes Oborne, Johnson had the good luck to be faced by Jeremy Corbyn in a general election gifted to him by Corbyn's decision to allow him to hold one at all. So, yeah, I completely agree. You know, it's nothing new. Boris Johnson is a complete liar, but why do people trust him? Again, I think it's down to this very typical, somewhat bizarre attitude that we have in the UK of that people of Johnson's ilk can get away with stuff, and unfortunately we let them get away with it, partly because they're so very well connected, and partly because they've got the money to be able to do it and to cover it up, unfortunately. But this is definitely something that going forward we will have to tackle. And I've said before, we need to really, really tackle the essentially the systemic corruption that we've seen coming out. I mean, it's gotten to the point where there's been so many of these contract scandals coming out at the moment. It's really hard to keep track and who even owes what to who. And I'm not going to be surprised if in the coming weeks we start to see more and more and more. How long will we put up with it? It's definitely questionable, but like I say, hopefully, we've got the local elections coming up, which will be quite important, which will definitely lay the groundwork for the next general election. But as I've said before, just because the next general election is, 4 years away, well, however long it is away, but, there's no reason to not start talking about it now and start preparing and laying the groundwork for it. So, as always, thanks for watching. Please do remember to hit that like and share button on your way out. And of course, down below, there's a link to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link. And thank you very much to those people who do support me that way. And as always, we'll see you all next time.